Good morning. We will be pleased to present the Space and Energy Innovation Center panel, where we're going to discuss one of the core initiatives that's a partnership between the Consortium and NASA and industry partners. We have with us today Diana Hoyt from NASA headquarters in the technology office. Jack Fox from Kennedy Space Center, who's leading the SwampWorks initiative. Carol Craig with Craig Technologies, who's involved in one of the more innovative NASA industry partnerships. And Jim Fletcher from CPI Technologies. And rather than me reading their introductions, I'll let them talk about themselves. And Diana, would you take it away for us?
Okay, I would start. Yes, sure. Why not? Which is the vote, the advancer. Okay. All right. I'd like to say I'm from the government and I'm here to help you, honest. Those of you who don't believe me, raise your hand. Oh, come on. Okay. So the first thing I want to ask you all is, what did you take away from my colleague's talk from the Department of Energy? And if you don't answer, I'll call on you. So, Linda, what did you take away? What were the themes in his talk? Bob? That Bob, right there. You, Bob.
What I heard is that the technologies have to make it on their own. They have to be economically viable with no limited subsidies, and that the federal government's role is not to hand out money, but to help facilitate.
Yes, sir.
We're going for all of the above strategy, and we're close to cost equilibrium as far as cost equilibrium. I guess
Okay. Mike?
Well, we're getting close, at least that's what my colleagues emphasizing. We're getting really close to preparing with all the
Yeah, I heard that too. And Scott?
Yeah, there's multidimensional, and there's a lot going on that's positive. Also, you can see the complexity of some maybe unanticipated consequences that they got to think through.
Right, okay. So what I heard all of that, plus I heard the themes of disaggregation, decentralization. I heard the themes of the world isn't what it was in the 60s. We have to do this on our own. Local is good, local is where it starts. And I also heard the themes of smart, flexible, adaptable, resilient. And it starts right here in Florida with us, all right? That said, I'm going to give you a God's eye view. Pretend you're Archimedes and you have a very long lever and you can move the world. So that's the perch. We're going to be cosmic here. So I'm going to do top down and kind of a little bit show you where NASA thinks it's coming from and how we might play in this regional ecology. All right? The universe is a pretty big place. Not that we're in charge of it, but we do have a role in sort of exploring it. This is not our world anymore. This was a tremendous feat. But what was going on during the Apollo program, okay? We were recovering from Vietnam. Nobody had heard of the iPhone, all right? What else was going on? Cars probably had fins, okay? Perrier probably hadn't been invented yet. The world was a different place, and the societies on the world organized themselves hierarchically, and the government gave, and the people received, okay? Hubble repair. This was a very difficult thing to do. And I show you this picture, and I show you this picture, simply to say, this is really hard stuff, okay? And yet, the creature human can actually do this sometimes, and sometimes do it well. Not only is this hard stuff, but when you look at, oh dear, gracious, sorry, excuse me. When you look at this, when you look at this, okay, the fact that this person can survive and the fact that he can come back and be alive and function normally on Earth is the product of multiple technical systems, of more technologies that you could possibly name, which all in this case are tied together and apply in space to keep the creature human alive, but which also can be used on the ground, right? And there is a remarkable confluence here and in other states of the country of the technologies and supply chains that relate to space and energy. If you consider space a place where chemistry, physics, biology, material science are deployed and experimented on, just as we do on the ground, except the absence of gravity in space makes it a little bit harder. So I wanted to talk about technology in extreme environments. A lot of the technical feats that we have to perform are actually very applicable to the energy industry. We need to support the human, we need power, we need fuel, we need smart, self-assessing, self-diagnosing automated systems, we need robotics. The list just goes on and on, right? Why aerospace and clean tech? At a technology level, I've told you that there's a confluence of technologies. At a discrete on-the-ground level, there is a confluence in shared supply chains and shared technical problems. In many cases, clean energy has a solution for aerospace, and aerospace has a solution for clean energy. This just shows you the level of the technology roadmaps, the kind of stuff that my office, the Office of the Space Technology Program, is actually engaged in. You can find the roadmaps on the web. All right, now, when we talk about a distributed non-hierarchical system on planet Earth, all right, it means that humans have to behave a little bit differently. It means that open innovation and open networks are going to be the way that things are invented. That we want new disciplines that are connected. We want the disciplines that are connected to be agile and to communicate. And to transform regions, whether it be Florida or Colorado or the Rust Belt, need a balanced portfolio of investment in networks, and the interplay of these networks accelerates innovation. Okay, well, why do I tell you this? Because the Space Coast Energy Consortium and the Space Coast Energy Consortium and the Energy and Aerospace Center is part of this new way of doing business. And NASA is extremely excited about this model for engaging in communities. Now, NASA has been told, if you look at this circle bullet right here, we have been told that we need to facilitate commercialization through local and regional partnerships. Well, that's right here on the ground. And that's why we're looking at Florida, particularly with the presence of the Kennedy Space Center, as a remarkable place to start some of these experiments that we're doing with how to get taxpayer-funded technology into the hands of the private sector so that the entrepreneurs, companies, and businesses can actually use it to to generate jobs and to create a robust local economy. All right, I do strategic regional partnerships. That's my portfolio. We look at them to accelerate NASA technology through commercialization, joint development of technology, spin in, spin out, whatever you can imagine that you could do with a technology or a concept. We have regional engagements in 5 different states. And I'll just do the map for you because it'll be easier than. Right. These are just the MEP centers, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Centers that you see across the country. They help small companies bridge that very critical valley of death. We started our pilot program of strategic regional partnerships in Colorado. We then looked at where all the NASA centers are located. We linked Colorado to all of the NASA centers in terms of technology. So if there's a small company in Colorado that has a technology challenge, we had boots on the ground. Is my boot on the ground here? Joni, are you here? There was our boots on the ground. I sent her to Denver for a year to talk to small companies, to ask them about their technology challenges, and to canvass the entire 10 NASA centers to find a technology solution. And we've done that in several cases with some brilliant successes, and I don't have time to tell you about all of them. So what if, all right, and let's think about this. What if NASA actually engaged in these partnerships in different regions of the world, of the country? And what if we connected the regions of strategic engagement together in terms of their capabilities? Energy and aerospace in Florida, clean tech in Colorado, lightweighting of vehicles and battery storage in the Midwest. All right, what if we did that? All right, and then what if we connected these to all of the NASA centers? What you have here is a very clumsily drawn architecture for making space-related technology available to people all across the country. All right. NASA has decided to do this at a systems level so that we're very methodical, we're very deliberate, we're very focused on where we go. We chose Florida because Florida presents a remarkable opportunity because of the diversity of industry across the state. NASA is also part of the Advanced Manufacturing Initiative from the president, where he wants to spend $15 billion to create institutes. $1 billion to create 15 institutes, all right? And what I want to I guess the metaphor that I want to use, and I'm conscious that I have probably no time left, the metaphor that I want to use is if... Okay. The metaphor that I'd like to use in talking to you is if you have a car, all right, the steering wheel is not sufficient to drive the car. The car needs to have all of its working pieces to be a system. Consider also the system of innovation. There is not a person in this room who is not responsible for a piece of innovation in the economy of the future for Florida. And my request or my suggestion to each of you is that you each think about what do you have to contribute to the creation of a local innovation economy. What are the ideas that you can bring to the table, and how can you play in it? And in order to do this, everybody must continually think about the greater good of the state. And the reason I say this is because we've been knocked around a little bit by some states where we've been, where everybody wants to be in charge. I want to be, it's my deal, I want to be the lead. No, he's not the lead, I'm the lead. All right, well that doesn't work. The economy never gets off the ground. And so my ask for this group, and you're obviously interested in energy, but my ask for this group is to think about a diversified ecology, think about an innovation ecosystem, think about how that might play out in the state. Think if you were a small company and you had a problem, whether it's a technical problem or a business problem, and there was a list of 25 resources in the state where you could go and you could get help. All right? That's the kind of innovation economy that NASA, by virtue of its brand, is trying to spark. The other thing I want to stress is when we talk about decentralization and we talk about smart and agile, the metaphor is swarm innovation. And just think about it. It's small, it's agile, it's smart, and it's replicated and it behaves as a whole. All right? And since, again, this is about a distributed world, it means that we live and we innovate through connections. And in Florida, we are actually trying to connect a hub of nodes of innovation. Right? We're trying to connect community connectors with government and community partners, with entrepreneurial support network, unique capabilities, and academic institutions. These are classic pieces of any ecosystem for innovation, for education. These are the players, and I urge you all to figure out to connect with them. I think the end goal from a perspective of why would NASA engage as a federal laboratory and try to build regional economic innovation clusters and try to spark the creation of them and not own them is the concept that the classical Greeks had of eudaimonia. Eudaimonia in classical Greek society is human flourishing. And that should be, and I believe is the goal for almost everything that we do on Earth, but we don't think about it consciously. And so what my ask for this group is, think about it consciously. Think about who you can connect with and how you can connect. And think about really creating an innovation ecosystem in Florida that really knocks the socks off the rest of the country and takes a leadership role in the United States. And I think my 10 minutes is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And so now that we've understand the NASA and the strategic national perspective, would like to introduce Jack Fox, who is a NASA researcher and scientist and engineer who is leading an effort to develop an innovative set of labs and programs at KSC called the SwampWorks, who will talk about how he's applying, how KSC NASA is applying those concepts and creating their future.
No, that's creating the nation's future and Florida's future.
Great. Okay, well, good morning. It's great to be here. Yes, I'm Jack Fox, Chief of Surface Systems Office for NASA Kennedy Space Center. I'm in the Engineering and Technology Directorate, not a lawyer as the DOE guy was, but the vision of our office is to be the premier government laboratory for development of surface systems, spaceports in space. That's really kind of the bottom line. And our mission is to provide commercial and government space endeavors with the technologies they need for living and working in space. And we focus on breakthrough technologies, leapfrog technologies. And we also believe in a future of abundance of energy and resources, actually, for humankind. How do I voice lock it?
have to have this. Jack. Sorry.
Headquarters came in and took control.
I'm here to help you, Jack.
Taking control, all right. All right. Right, okay, here we go. There we go, okay. But it's a new era at Kennedy Space Center. Shuttle program's done. I mean, we flew it for a long time, since 1981. And if I want to look at a shuttle, I got to go to a museum. And what we're working on now, PowerPoint charts. I mean, none of this stuff exists. NASA is, at Kennedy, we're working to be a multi-user spaceport. No longer one big shuttle program, but multiple vehicles out there. We're working on the Space Launch System heavy lift vehicle. Commercial industry are working on their own vehicles, launch vehicles and spacecraft. And KSC has a renewed focus on making the future happen out there. We opened an advanced planning office, renewed focus on partnerships, technology transfer. Former shuttle facilities are being utilized for commercial operations, manufacturing, technology development. Some examples, Orion manufacturing is taking place in the operations and checkout facility. There's a transportation test bed at the former shuttle landing facility. And we're doing technology development. We're working with Johnson Space Center on the Morpheus lunar lander at the shuttle landing facility. And we're soon to announce a few more of those activities. So lots of smaller technology-oriented projects are taking place out there. So here's OPF-3, used to process shuttles in there, emptied it out. And they're talking about building a commercial spaceport on the north end of our property. We'll see how that comes out. Okay, so KSC technology, we're entering a new era as part of the new KSC. And we're leveraging a long history of innovation, engineering and technology that solved space shuttle problems, payloads problems. Also, the workforce out there, just a tremendous can-do attitude that we're going to leverage for this new era. And so what I did was I created a SwampWorks Innovation Laboratory by leveraging some of this capability. It's a lean development environment. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Carrying on. Okay. So I'll talk later this afternoon about the SwampWorks Innovation Laboratory. Lean development environment, leveraging partnerships. We're not going to do it alone. NASA partnerships, other government entities, industry, academia, and energy projects are part of our portfolio, and that'll be this afternoon. But other things going on at KSC, we have a cryo test lab, we have an integrated ground ops hydrogen demonstration unit for moving hydrogen around and servicing it that we think is a breakthrough activity. Corrosion research, applied chemistry, applied physics, advanced sensors. We also have developing a sustainable facilities, sustainable transportation initiatives at KSC to be more energy efficient. So there's the SwampWorks and our kickoff team. I guess maybe that's it. Okay. So kind of in conclusion, historically, NASA, Kennedy out there, technology, we've been focused on NASA missions and kind of keeping it to ourselves. And I do feel like it's a new era and we need to be more a part of the community and share what we do, share our breakthrough technologies with industry to help solve problems. And looking forward to this new initiative to work with industry and academia to be more of a focus for getting, frankly, jobs and products out of Florida. So that's all I got. Thank you.
to say.
Carol Craig is the president of Craig Technologist, a leading community entrepreneur and businesswoman who's creating exciting new capabilities and opportunities, both for her company, but also capabilities that are available for companies throughout our region, the state, and the nation.
Thank you. First, I have to say, I wish that you had been my professor in college, because I might not have missed as many classes as I did. Honestly, I thought that was really good. It's pretty exciting.
I used to be a French teacher.
Yeah, well, there you can tell. And I was listening, obviously, to what you were saying, and of course, I echo that completely. I mean, the reason that our company is where it is today is because of collaboration and partnership. And there's a saying that I think my minister might have actually been the one that said this, but it's, is the boat better off because you're in it? And the boat is basically, our entire environment. And, are you making a contribution? Because if not, you're pretty much chum. So there's no reason to even be contributing. So it's true, right? So that's kind of what we've done. I'm the CEO and founder of Craig Technologies. We are an engineering and technical services firm, or we were originally, traditionally, and we're nationwide, and we've been all about, collaboration, subcontracting, working with partners, that kind of thing. But pretty significant has been our partnership with NASA. We signed a Space Act agreement, I guess it's been about a year ago, and it was to take over equipment that was formerly used for the shuttle in the NSLD, and hopefully I'm not using acronyms that people don't know. And interrupt me if you don't know what I'm talking about. We had to lease a facility from the existing owners. That none of that came along with the Space Act agreement. So it was a real, true entrepreneurial pursuit, but it was a partnership. And so, NASA has stayed involved with us, and, they want to see us succeed, and we want to succeed as well. All of this sounds like a small business. When you talk about flexibility and adaptability and innovation, it's pretty much all of a sudden we all have to start operating as a small business. And I consider us a small business, but I kind of look back and think, okay, we're not so small anymore, but we have to continue to maintain, to act like that small business. So, talking about the innovations and the partnerships, there's more than just the partnerships, like a Space Act agreement. There's more than just working with other companies. An example, and maybe she's going to talk later, Brevard Workforce has a program called Start Quest. I think it's what it's called. Startup. I should know this because I'm one of the mentors. Startup Quest. And my team is actually taking one of the NASA technologies and working on bringing that to market, and the commercialization of that. So it's everything together that makes this successful. So I don't know. I wasn't going to take too much longer, but just to give an idea of what we've done. What else would you like to hear?
If you would talk a little bit about the capabilities of the center and what kind of activities you can support in terms of manufacturing, design, test, and that sort of thing, because I think we've got a lot of potential customers out here.
That's absolutely true, and that's part of it. It's a supplier chain, and it's all of us working together. There's no such thing as competition. The pie is really, really big, so there's no reason that we can't all have a piece of it. So our Aerospace and Defense Manufacturing Center has multiple capabilities. Like I mentioned, it was a MRO type of facility supporting the shuttle. So there's everything from an avionics lab, from an environmental test suite, which would be like a shake and bake where you can test out. There's thermal capability, there's vibration capability. There's also a fairly large machine shop, precision machine shop, which includes everything from EDM, wire machining, lathe machining. I can remember all this. I need someone who really knows this stuff better than I do. Water jets, that kind of capability. We also have non-destructive evaluation capabilities, CT capability. We have very specialty manufacturing capabilities, which would be things like propulsion and tube bending. I mean, pretty much anything you need out there in the way of manufacturing capability, we have it. The great thing about that is that it's not just about space. And for those who have businesses, diversity equals stability. How are you going to stay around for a long time through all of this? Through diversity. And I think that's important as well. So whether you're supporting the energy community, or you're supporting Department of Defense, or you're supporting space, that's kind of all those capabilities can be translated to those industries. And that's what we do. So again, it's all about partnerships. We don't do everything. I have no problem subcontracting out or having a partner that can do some of those things that I can't do, or maybe I don't want to do them because I'm focusing on something else. So that's kind of the real quick and dirty, I guess, about what we do. But our core capability came from engineering and technical services. So now we've got the entire production, the entire life cycle of manufacturing, everywhere from the design and the engineering on down to the actual production and the development of products.
And our cleanup batter is Jim Fletcher with CTI Technologies. We in the consortium have been working with Jim since its inception. At the time he started, he was working with the United Space Alliance and developing an innovative energy technology inside the gate, and now he has taken that and launched a small business with it. So Jim is an example of where the rubber meets the road in this space and energy idea, where you try to take a capability and a technology and turn it into an opportunity. So Jim.
Thank you. I'm glad you stayed seated, but well, I'll have to get up. Good morning. I feel like most of you people have seen my face way too much. I've been on this panel, I think, 3 years in a row, so I think it's about time for me to graduate, I would think. But I'm actually a Carroll wannabe, or I'm really impressed by my co-panelists here. Appreciate what you guys have had to say. But I think the rubber meeting the road. I think the tire tracks are on my back, actually, at this point. But we are excited about the future, and like Dave said, a couple of years ago, I was working for USA in the engineering, design engineering department for United Space Alliance. And my career, interesting enough, I was thinking as you were talking, Dave, that I started out in space. I flew P-3s back in the 70s, a long time ago, in the mid 70s. And went into energy, went back to school and got a degree, and went into energy, did that for 7 years before I came down and started working on the shuttle program. So went back to the aerospace side, and then at the end of the program, near the end of the shuttle program, I got back into the energy side, all because of this hardware that we're trying to commercialize right now, deployable structures. And I'll just let this run behind me, and maybe at the end we have time for questions. We can pull it up if necessary. But basically what we have is an enabling structure, deployable structure technology that we're using to deploy solar panels, wind turbines, and other pieces of hardware, pre-integrate them in a factory, deploy them quickly, and plug and play in the field, and to try to simplify things. And Kennedy was kind enough to, while I was with USA, to agree for us to build a prototype. We built a 5 kilowatt prototype, half of which is parked out front of the Florida Solar Energy Center here, as part of the Space Act agreement that Space Coast Energy Consortium and NASA, an agreement, and they signed that this, I think was it Michael, this year, January? Oh, when did we sign that? January, February? Yeah, but anyway, just recently signed, and Annex number 1 to that is the loan of that hardware to Space Coast Energy Consortium, and it's residing here at Florida Solar Energy Center. And my company, CPI Technologies, are going to basically use that we're going to finish it. It was designed and built and deployed, but never electronically finished. And so we're going to finish that, but we're also going to use that to train some aerospace technicians in the energy field, and working with the Brevard workforce, hopefully, and Florida Solar Energy Center to be able to do that. And meanwhile, do some little bit of testing on that and some demonstration, and within the year, or within a 12-month period, give it back to NASA as a finished product. But what my company is about is trying to commercialize this, and so we're trying to take it to the next level and to make it where it's actually economically feasible. And we are getting some interest in that, and the slides that have been running back there in the back are showing that we've been able to improve the compaction from I think 14 to 1 was the one we had at Kennedy, and now we're up about 22 to 1 on the latest generation of that. And on top of that, we're putting even higher wattage panels in the system. And we're not about the solar panels or the inverters or the batteries. We're about the truss itself, and we're trying to use that as an enabling technology to allow us to put it in the field and power things quickly, whether it be the military or whether it be emergency management, or as we're finding out, third world countries are probably as much interested in it as any place else so far. Getting a lot of interest there. But let me talk about the Innovation Center a little bit. The concept, even though I didn't get in on the end of this, I've been on it for 2 years, I guess, Dave, or so. We've been talking about this, and I've been experiencing a lot of help. My company has experienced a lot of help from Space Coast Energy Consortium, Brevard Workforce, Florida Solar Energy Center have been involved in that, even TRDA, some other agencies. I hope I didn't leave any out. But the reality is that if you're an engineer in a startup business, you need all the help you can get. And the valley of the death, we're just there right now, and we're going to try to survive that. And we need help to get through that. And I know there's a lot of talent in this area, and I'm not sure how many businesses have been started. I haven't seen the numbers, but there are a lot of talent in the area with good ideas that needs to overcome obstacles. And the Innovation Center, I think, is probably the best chance they have at getting through that. You know, unless you just happen to be wealthy, you're not going to be able to get through the Valley of Death without some help, I don't think. Without giving away your business is very minimal. And I know I've rambled a good bit, but I'll be happy to answer any questions about what we've been through and what our product is. But we have a booth set up as well as the static display out front of the KSC hardware. And me and my colleagues would be happy to try to answer any questions anyone has. Thank y'all for inviting me again.
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to roll through just a few quick slides just to try to say what the Space and Energy Innovation Center is and how it ties together these elements of the national policy, the KSC capabilities, the support industries, and the commercial industry, and the emerging industries. So as Diana and I have talked, we're thinking about the region, and KSC is a part of a region. So when you develop a regional strategy, you need to think about what works, what do you have, what are the capabilities and requirements within the part of the region that's owned by the federal government, NASA, the Air Force, and things like Port Canaveral. So the Innovation Center is a partnership to create linkages between the Space Center, NASA contractors, and its extended network, and the energy industry within this area, and nationally, because these are national challenges. It is a partnership. Mike showed you about the valleys of death. The Innovation Center is positioned to utilize all of these capabilities that are within our aerospace industry base as a resource for that demonstration to commercialization, and also to support earlier stage research and development. This comes from capabilities that KSC has as a hands-on engineering center, as with their facilities and labs, with the federal mandates for innovation and sustainability, to do work with technologies in aerospace that they've developed over 50 years. They have been working on energy, but it's been sporadic and unconnected. It can't be systematized. So the Innovation Center is going to be a partnership. Some people say, well, where are you going to put the building? There isn't going to be a building. There's going to be a smart network where people can be grouped together in technology areas. Those technology areas can be grouped together, and they can work together to solve problems. The federal government, space contractors, energy industry, universities, and others. There are the initial areas that are going to come out are in using JAX labs and KSC labs as virtual DOE user facilities. You saw the ESIF facilities that DOE created. We want to link KSC into that Department of Energy development node. We have a great opportunity to become a national transportation test bed, and you see all the kinds of vehicles and things. We have great strengths in hydrogen and fuel cells, and that's a national priority. We can be at the forefront of demonstrating the new fleet vehicles and moving, and both only developing that technology, but building out regional infrastructure. And Carroll's facility, along with capabilities that we have in the region and UCF, provide a great foundation for bringing an advanced manufacturing hub as part of the initiative that Diana described and Gil described, and make us a hub of that. Bioagriculture and community scale demonstration are next coming out. We've seen these pictures before, but that is what the Space and Energy Innovation Center is, a partnership that is open in terms of what it does, but has a focus on after research, before commercialization, utilizing the concentration of capabilities that exist within our region, including the Space Center region, but networking that out to the nation and the world. And that's how we become stronger together. And so let's, the panelists, questions for the panelists? Or comments by the panelists?
Oh, come on, guys. We should do questions.
So for small businesses to tap into NASA, one of the key ingredients we're lacking is capital. So, you know, is it a free service? Is it a, you know, how do you, does the small business pay for it, or how does the small business interact in a way that makes it work for the small business?
Are you talking to me, sir?
Well, talk about NASA, sure.
I see. This is an excellent question, she said calmly. Okay, in order to answer that, let me frame the question slightly differently. I was at a meeting 2 weeks ago at the White House, and the subject was called, it was a summit, okay? And it was called From Lab to Marketplace. And what it was trying to do is say to the federal labs, okay guys, you really aren't cutting it. You're using a 19th century model, this is the 21st century. What can we do to accelerate the migration of technology into the marketplace, federally developed technology? And there were a series of initiatives that came out. And they're about to make recommendations to the president. I think they'll make 5 recommendations. And one of the recommendations has to do with financing and the availability of venture capital. And it is clear in this innovation ecology that it's not just technology that plays a critical role, but it's business models, and it's financing, and it's strategic partnering. That it is about the technology, but the technology is a way to actually focus the engagement on the specific area. So I think that is an issue that, I mean, NASA's addressed that in part by saying, for example, when we do our small business innovation research grants, that as a pilot project, the awardee can use the intellectual property at free. Okay, they get the IP. But there are lots of ways that the federal government can think about making it easier for the small entrepreneur to, number one, know that there's a technology there that can help them, and number two, figure out ways to get financing. Linda, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
I did. I wanted to,
She's my partner in crime.
I wanted to reflect that there are some other pilots going on in the country. One is called Adopt a City. It's being done in Northeast Ohio. They're starting phase 2. And what it does is it allows hours of a subject matter expert at a place like Kennedy to work with a small company, and each company, let's say, receives 40 hours of their subject matter expert's time at no cost to them. And depending on the needs for upgrading equipment, or depending on the ability to access new technologies and the cost of that, then the local government, county government, and city government are providing low-interest loans to those manufacturers. So I think what we're looking at doing is possibly trying to replicate that model here and in other places, so that we can, in fact, provide a company like yours, Scott, where you're already, you're in existence, but you can benefit from having access to maybe 10 hours or 20 hours of somebody's time to be able to work with you on bundling technology.
Actually, it's not possibly looking at doing it. We are going to do it. By hook or by crook.
Yeah, when we look at like the advanced manufacturing center models, they don't realize it, but they're just completely excluding small business out of those. We don't have that ability to put the kind of cost share, get no IP rights, and so all the innovators are left out. At least the models I've seen so far. I wouldn't participate as a small business.
Well, I think it's very clear that small business is where innovation happens, and a nation that does not manufacture has a difficult time innovating. So I think there's not a person in the room that doesn't understand the challenge that small businesses face. And I would rely in this community, and why don't we do a pilot? And why don't you lead it, as a matter of fact? Okay? Why don't we do this? No, really. I've never met a woman. No, you. Here's your job. Here's your job. Okay, this is your challenge. Convene small businesses and address some key questions, and then propose some solutions. And not a solution that says, God will drop money on us, please, or the federal government will drop money on us. There are ways of accessing capital, I'm sure. I'm a social scientist, not a banker or a lawyer. But that's your action, and you need to have that done in 6 months, and I'll come back and check with you.
No, I've been on the Hill already, and one of the things I think is a good initiative for small business is at the federal level, eliminate cost share requirements on federal contracts for small business. Make us exempt. Okay, because then we can play. Because a lot of these new initiatives come out as cost share. And if you're a big business, your cost share is coming out of the defense money anyway through your IRAD monies. But small business doesn't have that resource. We can't compete.
Well, let me push back on you. And what I would say is, why not keep the requirement and have you find a partner who will put skin in your game, a local partner, or even a national partner, who will put skin in your game, because there are a suite of companies nationally, and I don't believe there are any in Florida, who actually live from one SBIR grant to another without a focused understanding of taking their technology market. They just get funds to sort of have a shop activity and do bricolage, as the French would say.
And I would argue also, go along with that, that if you have a partner with skin in the game, the proposals are stronger. Because now you have an outside referee who said, this is a good idea, I'm putting some money in. And so then you have a bunch of great games.
Yeah.
So I think.
But you gotta give up something though, to get it.
For the rest
Well,
of the world, right? If you want to make money, they're not going to put skin in the game.
yes. Agreed, but that's still the things you have to think about, and I think that's, when you talk about being able to have a loan and grow organically, not having, because even with ours, the only way we're doing it is on borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, because, the other side of the engineering firm was doing really well, all those profits get rolled back in. But no, it's your level and your size, you don't have that option, and so you said it, it's pretty good. This program that you're talking about, though, is a good option. Not having to go back.
We're not, no, I see, we have 7 minutes left, and we'll use each one sacred. And we started late, so we get more time.
I always do what Diana says.
You and my dog, that's it on my list. That's it. Yeah, okay, go ahead, ask.
Yes, so the question I had was, you mentioned SBIR stuff, to give you a little credit here, so we do about 50, we got 57 right now for SBIR bases right now, 100% duty. If you look at the 27-year history of our company, the number of NASA bases we have are donors, and they actually both won the prize. We got NASA Innovation Awards. But it seems to be, and maybe this is changing, maybe you as a person are changing, it seems to be NASA, when we look at their SBIR program, they don't know what they want. There are all these great topics in phase one. They don't really, they'll end up saying, well, that's great, but I don't have a mission profile. And it can't affect the shuttle because that's already designed, and the next program is already designed. So they never seem to have, you guys never seem to know what you want. How are we going to fix that? You go to the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, they know what they want. You meet all the objectives, you have a high probability of success, and you also get a push.
I'd like to suggest that their mission hasn't changed.
But that's the moving target. They seem to not know what their soul is. And it's very difficult to work with them when it changes, you know what I mean? How are you going to resolve that?
Right, I don't think that the soul of the agency changes. I think maybe its manifestations might change via different missions. But what I would say to that is that the SBIR program, Johnny, how old is it? It was developed in the 80s? 82, okay. All right, so life is not, this planet is not the same now in 2013 as it was in 1982, so that it means that your organizational structures that were created to address problems probably need to evolve and change. And I know we had a very hard time this year getting the SBIR program reauthorized, so we probably don't want to mess with Congress right now at this moment since they just reauthorized it.
They changed it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the overall SBIR program.
No, but NASA implements SBIR. So what I'm talking about is what NASA is looking at doing, and this is under, the SBIR program is now in the Office of the Space Technology Program Mission Directorate, all right? So it has new leadership. And what it's looking at doing is it's looking at sort of doing a zero-based review internally to see what is it that we can do when we actually engage in the SBIR activity that can increase our success rate. And I think one of the things that NASA can do is, number one, focus the request, all right? And I think we're starting to do that with the 14 roadmaps in the Space Technology Mission Directorate, so that we support technologies that we know that we're going to need no matter where we go, okay? And number two, increase the importance of the weighting criteria of, is this commercializable, right? And don't just select people who have good ideas, but select people who have cogent, discrete, thoroughly thought out business plans, who know what they want, who know that they have a product that they want to get to market, but just can't get there. One of the things that when I talk to you about this great big, Uber ecosystem here in Florida that we want to pilot, all right, an innovation ecosystem, what we want to do is we want to use a conceptual model of collaboration, connection and collaboration in the innovation space to actually create small initiatives that will help advance the entire innovation ecosystem. For example, we're looking at taking the Adopt a City program, all right, which gives you 40 hours. If you're a small company, you get 40 hours of subject matter expertise, and it could be somebody at Glenn, not necessarily here in Florida, all right? So you get that for free. We're already partnered with the Brevard County workforce, and that where she's a mentor. So if you're an unemployed aerospace engineer and you want to create a company, 100 of them are in 20 groups of 5, and they have an entrepreneurial mentor, and they have a technical expert, and there's a pot of money to which NASA has contributed for first, second, and third prizes to actually start up companies. So there are lots of things that can be done, but again, I would say if you look at the model of where we are on this planet, it's the local initiatives that count, right? We can make lots of policy declarations in Washington, but if the initiative is taken at the local level to change the shape or to change recommendations or to start pilot programs that actually give the small entrepreneur a better chance of succeeding, then I think that this community could very well take the initiative. One of the things that we're thinking about doing is using Space Florida, partnering with Space Florida and with the Brevard County Economic Development Council to create an opportunity fund so that there would be companies competitively selected when they can't go from prototype to scale-up manufacturing, or when they can't even get to prototype, that they get funding. Right? And these are all things that we can pilot in Florida, and then if they turn out to be portable and scalable, we can scale up at a national level. Does that help? Sort of?
Well, I think you did it the first part. I think what's lacking is the focus.
We're gonna move on, but that's a key point. One of the things that the consortium was advocating to the Florida legislature was this year, which got a lot of attention, didn't quite make it through, so there's next year, was that some of the economic development resources be put in a pool that would be made available as a match for Florida companies going for federal grants, because the small companies, maxed out your credit card second. Yeah, and so that is a way to help the small businesses get resources to Florida, draw and build those partnerships. So it's not just at the federal level. We need the state, and we also need to develop smart local sources of capital.
And you mentioned in one of your initiatives was to look at licensing issues. So with respect to NASA and licensing and intellectual property agreement issues, can you talk about what options you're looking at to address those so you can meet commercialization goals?
Well, one of the options that is not yet in place in a uniform fashion all across the agency is what's called a research license. And a research license gives the small company a 6-month to a year period to actually use the technology exclusively without making a commitment to actually engage in the licensing practice. And that can be negotiated within a 2-week time period. And that happens right here at River City in Florida. We do that. Do we not here at KSC, Joni?
Yeah.
All right. So that's one thing. The other thing that we're doing is we have a pilot initiative run by the Ames Research Center out in California in Silicon Valley, where we put technologies that we have now, not necessarily, they may be useful technologies, one doesn't know, all right? But we put certain technologies up on the web and people can purchase them at a significantly reduced fee with a charge card. Right, so we're looking at ways.
Charge cards are good for small businesses.
Charge cards are very good, yeah, and it's designed specifically for low-cost charge card, and you can get it like right there on the web. And we are also, we're looking at other ways to sort of obviate or address the problems that we have with licensing. The problems that I know about, and I'm not a licensing expert, okay? Remember, I'm a social scientist, okay? But the problems I know about that we have licensing is the time it takes to get a license. By the time you get the license, you probably don't want the technology anymore. And the inability to understand and know what technology is available to you so you could license it anyway. And you could probably tell me if there are more issues with that.
Well, I'm not with a small company, I'm with one of the big.
I know you're a big company.
And we executed everything but SBIRs, although we didn't SBIRs. I think your slide mentioned CRADAs. So in a CRADA, one of the issues is it takes a negotiated contract, or that gives the terms and agreements of the CRADA. So what is NASA doing specifically to look at what the licensing agreements and the agreements would be in a CRADA, for example, or
So-
investment that someone's made in technology is pretty much the foundation for where the ownership comes from.
Right.
Governments make a lot of investment, big companies make a lot of investment too. The balance between government and small businesses is pretty.
Well, these are much broader issues than NASA. It's a role of federal government in getting its federally developed technology out to the people who paid for it. And I think that it's an issue that people need to put their heads together and look at to figure out, come up with some discrete recommendations on how to do this. I know, for example, has anybody heard of OtterBox? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, right, because they make cases for your cell phone, right? So I had a meeting in Colorado with the chief technologist of OtterBox. And I said, I'd like to partner with you. I'd like to partner with you on sensor technology. And he said, no, I don't want to. And I said, oh, come on. No, didn't want to do it. So I said, we're going to meet. I'd like to meet with you. And I thought, well, I can probably get this done, right? So I go to meet with him, and he refused to engage in a partnership with NASA. Why? Number one, it takes too long. By the time I come to terms of agreement with you, I'll be on to my next cycle, of my next 3-month cycle, and we'll miss the boat. You'll hold me up. And number two, if I take your technology and I change it a little bit, are you going to come and sue me? Right? Who owns this technology? So if we actually really do want to promote commercialization, both at the small business level and at the larger corporate level, things need to change. And so what I will do for you, Bob, okay, is I will put you in charge of a working group that is going to recommend, and I'm joking, but I mean it, all right, that is going to at least provide me with some recommendations on what you would like to see that would make chances of commercialization higher. All right, and then I'll take those back to my home planet, and we will discuss them. The reason why I'm actually asking people who have issues to address them is because this time of all times is the time when the White House is interested in technology transfer. The White House is interested in how to make the federal laboratory system more user-friendly to people who might like to use government technology, and so this is the time to submit recommendations, particularly to the summit panel that I attend. So I really would, if nothing else, get a list from you of your suggestions on what could be changed.
Well, we have an office on 4th Street, so we're pretty.
So all right, send your boarding party.
Yes, sure.
So I was just going to ask if we could engage you. We're also looking at doing a technology showcase that we've done in other parts of the country. And a major success factor for those technology showcases where we would bring relevant technologies to industry that's local and the research and the experts, subject matter expert along with that technology. We have those conversations about what makes sense, creatives, other things, is to actually have industry partners help us vet and validate whether that's the right technology to exhibit and how it relates to your markets. So there's an opportunity to engage in even just something as simple as becoming more aware of what technologies are available.
There's been a new term, I don't think it was invented in Washington, but they're using it now. It's called translational capabilities. The idea being that federal labs have no idea how to look at one of their sacred technologies and understand what other market sectors it could possibly be applied to and where the market sector need is. And I think that everyone who thinks about the role of federal labs in the American economy knows that that's a significant
Well,
role.
that's what innovation and entrepreneurship is all about. So innovators and entrepreneurs can do that.
Right, and I might say, Mike, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. Well, maybe SCEC could play a significant role in helping identify some of these issues quickly with this team lead and this team lead and that team lead.
Well, we've been doing that all along for a number of
Yeah.
years.
Okay, so maybe we could get a list.
The ideas are already on the table. The question is.
Get me a list before lunch.
I agree with my colleague here, that what does NASA want to be in this area? What does NASA want to do with the wings of the future? There's a big change in NASA. You don't have the shuttle program anymore. So JSC is not all about the shuttle. It's about something else. What is that and where will it be in the future? We understand a lot of the technologies that are capabilities that are here. A lot of the employees we have in Orlando choose to work here. So we understand what's here. And we work very closely with SEC to understand. You need to know that it's not a huge business.
Absolutely.
Everybody has technology. The Chinese have technology, everybody has technology. How do you do business together? Is your innovation hard spots are. That's the value of that, not technology.
Right. And I,
Recent investment value of that.
and I would suggest that that's one of the beauties of for us of engaging in Florida, is that we have a NASA center here that is willing to lean forward and actually go out into the community and be of the community, and to identify problems and then to propose pilot solutions. So under this pilot, and it's at least a one-year pilot, under this pilot that NASA is engaging in Florida, we would like to experiment with issues like this. For example, just on the time it takes to negotiate a Space Act agreement, we will probably, in the areas where I have this regional economic cluster development, which are 4 states, we will have the NASA lawyers agree that we can turn around a Space Act agreement in 2 weeks, if it pertains to that particular region. Florida is one of those states. You can look for seeing that stood up probably within the next 3 to 4 months.
And, you know, one of the things in terms of the purpose of creating an innovation center partnership, one is to make the capabilities, both in facilities and expertise, available to businesses through some of the existing frameworks like Work for Others, partnerships, Space Acts, but also to develop a more, identify where those things fall short, and then as the center, not asking a company to go up and beat up on their customer or their partner, but take those issues to the White House, to Congress, to the agencies, and say, hey, we need to do this better. The policy says this, the reality is that. How are we going to close that gap? And so, you know, that's we're going to figure it out as we go along, and it'll require a continuous improvement process. It's not where it needs to be, but it is a far, far sight from where things used to be. And the ability to execute a kind of a partnership like Carroll has, to take that great shuttle capability and make it available for a commercialization resource. And, you know, this is, somebody's got to do that. Well, somebody is us. And it's going to have to be done together. And I see my boss with the hook. So I'd like to thank, can we give our panelists a... Thank you very much, everybody.